This podcast is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to help expand our programming, head to patreon.com/talkstarwars and become a TSW patron. You'll receive exclusive podcasts, access to a VIP Facebook group, monthly prize draws, Facebook Live sessions, and much, much more. Head to patreon.com/talkstarwars and become a TSW patron today, and the Force will be with you always.
The TSW Roundtable is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Head to StarWarsCommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the TSW Roundtable. I am Robert Cash, your moderator for this episode and all the episodes of TSW Roundtable, and I think we have a pretty decent one lined up for you today. We have two hosts or co-hosts from different shows from around the Star Wars Commonwealth, and first I'm going to introduce a man who we've been trying to do this for quite some time. And I've had the pleasure of actually meeting. We met face to face all the way down in Celebration this year. But Cody from the Rogue Squadron podcast. How you doing, Cody?
Good day, Galaxy. Glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is awesome. We've been talking about this for quite some time, even before we hooked up. And well, we didn't hook up. You know what I mean? It's
well, I don't know. I don't know what you'd call it, bro.
Yeah, we had a couple beers, but it didn't go any further than that. But yeah, so it's great to finally have you on, Cody. And so, you want to tell people about your show?
Rogue Squadron. So yes, we are a little rowdier than most, but everything is rooted in our love for Star Wars. We've been running for about 4 years, and I co-host with my good friend Mopar. We've known each other for quite a while, and we've been ranting and raving and having beers and discussing Star Wars and video games for a while. And then one day we just turned on some mics and started recording the thing. That's kind of how it came about.
Nice. And you're out of where? Columbus,
Ohio. Yeah.
Excellent. So we have an American on the show today. This is actually Canadian Thanksgiving we're recording, so this means nothing to you guys, I'm quite sure. Wow. And it won't mean
I saw someone say something about Thanksgiving today, and I was like, is this an old tweet? What's going on?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
No, we have our Canadian Thanksgiving is a little earlier because I think back in the day, we had to harvest a little earlier than you guys because it's a little chillier up here.
Oh, yeah, I believe it.
So we have our big Thanksgiving thing a month and a little bit earlier. So, but our second co-host today, all the way from San Diego, the San Diego Sabers, Steve, you want to say hi to everybody?
Yes, good morning, good day, and good evening to everyone.
How you doing, Steve? So tell us a little bit about your show.
Yeah, so we are actually, I can hardly believe it, but we're starting to close in on our first year anniversary in a few months. We started the show back in January. We're a full contact lightsaber combat team, and for our second year with the group, we thought, well, what else are we going to do that's new and exciting this year with the group? And we came up with the idea of doing a podcast. And obviously, being Star Wars enthusiasts, we thought, okay, we'll obviously talk about lightsaber fighting because we're dorks that way. But there's so much in Star Wars that we can just keep going with this all day long. And we've never run out of content. It's fantastic.
Excellent. Yeah. So this is, and you are the newest and freshest member, I guess, to the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network.
Yeah, it's been so amazing being part of the Commonwealth. You guys have just been so friendly and accepting, and just it's like a giant family, I swear.
It is, and truth be told, that was my in. I have a weekly podcast, and then I wanted to do a Star Wars one, and then I knew the guys from Talk Star Wars, and I said, hey, I got an idea. How about we have a show where we have hosts from around the Commonwealth? And here we are. So, see, I'm lucky. I kind of get the pod with everybody. So
you do, and now after this, I have to change my business cards to add a tagline that says I'm now part of the Robert Cass collection.
Yes, you are. Yes. We were actually, Mark and I from Talk Star Wars. We were thinking of getting some T-shirts made, and we were thinking of, I was on the TSW roundtable, but then there was another one where Robert Cast had me on the TSW roundtable, but that sounded horrible. That was there was all sorts of connotations to it, and punctuation was important. So we said, well, let's just put one out that says TSW roundtable. So. So Talk Star Wars has those on their merch tab. So here we are, guys. We are hours away from the second and probably final trailer to The Last Jedi. It's going to air on Monday Night Football and tonight. And because you're both American, I don't have to explain what that is.
You might. We're not big football fans here,
No, of course not. No. So we got a new trailer coming out tonight. Obviously, by the time this drops, everybody will have seen it and reacted to it. But what I want to ask you guys, Cody, I'll start with you. Leading up to a new movie, how much do you expose yourself to as far as spoilers, trailers, clips, rumors, that sort of thing? Like, do you want to go in completely not knowing anything, or do you just follow along with the main stuff and kind of go in half spoiled?
I am all in.
All in.
I'm all in, and I had to kind of consider and figure this out back when episode 7 was getting ready to come out. And what happened was that was shortly after we started the podcast, and we had spent so many episodes talking about pretty much just KOTOR and Darth Bane that when something brand new was coming out, we were just geeked that we had brand new content. We had rumors and theories. I just was listening to an old episode, and the things that we were trying to come up for Kylo Ren to be was absolutely ridiculous. But we go all in, and when I went into the theater for Force Awakens, I found myself excited by the movie, surprised. There was things that I maybe thought was going to be one thing, but was something completely different, and I didn't think that ruined the experience for me. And I was totally okay with that. Did the same thing with Rogue One, which was maybe a little bit different because the trailer had a lot of stuff that wasn't even in the movie.
Right.
So that was a nice surprise anyways. But yeah, I'm all in. I've been waiting for this moment since we saw the teaser at Celebration in April. So I'm totally geared up for tonight.
Excellent. And Steve, how do you like to go into these movies? Do you like to go in don't tell me anything? I don't want to watch a trailer. I don't want to see an interview. I don't want to see anything. Or do you just give it all to me? I want to know everything. And if I get spoiled, who cares? I'm going to still love the movie.
I really appreciate people who have the discipline to avoid all the spoilers. I don't know how you do it, especially in this day and age, but I am really happy going into the theater feeling informed. I like having some idea of what's going to happen, but the reality is, especially for something like a new Star Wars movie, I will get so excited that no matter how many trailers or spoilers or script leaks I've read, the moment I walk into the theater, I forget it all because I'm so excited.
Right.
And so whatever they are, whatever the theories are, whoever Snoke is, it goes out the window and I'm excited and I can focus on the movie. And if I do remember certain things and they turn out to be real, I kind of feel like I'm a leg up on my second viewing because we're all going to see this 12 times in the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see something and it'll connect with me and go, oh, that's what that means. I get it. So if I do pick up something from the spoilers, from the trailers and retain it in my first viewing, I feel a little bit more informed and the connection with the experience is a little bit stronger for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well, I guess for the three of us especially, and our other Commonwealth brothers and sisters, we podcast about Star Wars. So it's really hard to, if we said, okay, we're not watching the trailer that's coming out tonight, and then, well, what are we going to talk about tomorrow?
Right. And for the next 6, 8, 12 weeks.
Exactly. So it's almost, I personally like to try to find a balance between, I don't go rooting and digging for that next story to try to find content. I like to ingest anything that Lucasfilm is going to give me. I'm assuming they're letting me have it because they know what the movie is. So I'll watch their trailers. I read all the comics, like the Phasma lead up is coming up. I try to dig into as many novels as I can, but being a father of a young baby, that's a little harder. But
At least you have an excuse. We just can't read anything.
No, we can't. This is not a podcast about the educational system north or south of the border. We're not doing that. But I try to keep myself informed so we can have these discussions. But at the same time, I didn't want, especially with the last two movies, I didn't want that Luke, I'm your father moment to be ruined for me. If I could relive that again. I'm of an age where I saw it in the theater as a kid and I was wide-eyed, like head exploded, brains all over the theater walls. I'm sure if you go back to Northern Ontario and Sudbury, you'll see my brain splatters from that movie. But at the same time, I just don't want that stuff ruined for me. When I lined up for Force Awakens, when that came out, I avoided most of the spoilers. I watched the trailers. I was really excited. Here's new Star Wars. Here's finally a chapter after Return of the Jedi from '83. And I was in line, and somebody said, "Oh, I have a friend from Australia." I was in a line of concession, sorry. And somebody said, I heard some conversation behind me going, "I have a friend in Australia." And they said Han Solo. And I'm like, blah, 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 covering my ears and acting like a toddler. Because I couldn't believe I was minutes away from... I was literally getting my popcorn, and I could have had that Han Solo moment death ruined for me.
Yeah.
Because some moron in line. You know what I mean? Like, it's... Yeah. It was great, but when I was watching the movie, I'm like, well, Rob, that Han Solo, something might happen, and it was just... I guess being a Star Wars podcaster, and you guys know that obviously... I mean, it means a little bit more to us than maybe your average Joe walking down the street, but you just don't. You want to have it the way it's supposed to be presented to you. Does that make any sense?
100%. I think you hit it with Lucasfilm is probably not going to spoil the movie for anybody because they want people to come see their movie in the theaters. Right. So I don't think we have anything to worry about from the trailer. Although I will say, I'm sure you guys noticed on Twitter that Ryan was actually kind of, if you want to be 100% clean when you go in there, you probably shouldn't watch it, which I've never heard a director really say about a trailer before. So people are maybe a little more worried than they usually are. But I don't want to be spoiled, but I'm still going to go all in on the trailer. No worries.
Do you think possibly that might be because of maybe some certain shots? Like, I know when we watched the trailer, like, I'm sure when J.J. Abrams made Force Awakens and they had the TIE fighters in the sunset, which in the movie I know didn't make any sense, and there's lots of discussion about that one particular Apocalypse Now helicopter shot with TIE fighters, but it was still visually stunning. And do you think maybe Ryan's talking about, well, I have a lot of nice, beautiful moments, like the handing off of the lightsaber with the mechanical hand, or any certain shot he really wanted to set up and work on, and now he's sitting at home going, well, you just showed everybody. I spent like 3 days on that one shot. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I think Lucasfilm and the big studios have gotten a lot better at controlling studio leaks. So when you come down to them putting almost as much effort into the trailer as they do the movie, they really are controlling the message very tightly. So what Lucasfilm puts out today is exactly what they want to tease us with. They want to drive the hype and the excitement, and I want that feeling. So I'm definitely going to sit here and watch that on loop for like 3 hours, right? We're all going to just analyze it frame by frame. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. They're showing me what they think will get me excited to ensure I go see it on the first day. Okay, I'm already going to do that, but thanks. So, and again, they've gotten so, and we've seen it this cycle, they've gotten so good with controlling leaks. We really haven't heard anything outside the trailers. Mm-hmm. It's been fantastic, which I really appreciate them doing, because for the people who do want to go in unspoiled, they at least have a chance to do that. Much bigger chance if they stay off Facebook for 9 months, but you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, also too, sorry, Cody, but I was thinking about the toys. Like, even we dissect the packaging. Was that a lightsaber hook on Luke's belt, or is that, you mean, like the soundtracks we comb over since the Qui-Gon fiasco with Phantom Menace? I don't know if you remember when that came out, and it said one of the titles on the Phantom Menace soundtrack, which came out before the movie, said Qui-Gon's death or something, or Qui-Gon's
Oh man,
funeral pyre or something. So everybody's like, "Oh, we know he dies." So I think they've really tightened it up. Like they're even when it comes to toys, if they have a Luke and they release him now and he doesn't have a lightsaber, they have no problem repackaging him after December 17th. With a lightsaber, like they have no problem. Oh, you want to buy them again? Sure, you go. Like,
of course.
So
yeah,
they are master at merchandising that way.
They are.
They are. One thing that really keeps it fresh when we get in there and see the movie is a lot of the stuff that we theorize on when we see the trailer ends up being completely different or not true at all when we see the movie. So, like I said earlier, when we were like trying to figure out who the hell Kylo was, like we thought maybe he was some. We being KOTOR fans and his mask. We're like, oh, he's probably an obsessed with Darth Revan. We're going to see Darth Revan pop back on the screen. Yeah, right. So all this stuff that we came up with in our heads as we were going through the trailer and the Entertainment Weekly spreads and all that stuff, like none of it was true at all. It was all completely different stuff or inconsequential or not even in the movie, like those classic Rogue One shots that we saw from the trailer that didn't actually make it in there. So I think we'll be safe. And I'm always trying to remember what's in the trailer and figure out when it's going to come on the screen. It just has me even more excited as I'm in the theater.
Yeah, I end up doing I don't know if I'm sure a lot of other Star Wars fans do this too. Once you're getting into the EU and like the comics and the books and the legends, it's like, oh, they're gonna bring this guy back. Is Snoke Plagueis, or is this gonna tie in with this or this storyline in the comic, or is this? And I really, really think that. No fault of our own, we overthink this stuff. Like you said, with like, oh, that has to be tied in with Revan. Like, it has to be.
For sure.
Well, I know that. You know that. I mean, a lot of other people do, but the majority of the people going to buy these tickets have no idea and don't care. They just want to see, space battles, lightsabers, training, dark, light, go. You know what I mean? So, but hey, I'm sure by the time this comes out, we'll have all seen the trailer. I'm sure we'll all have enjoyed it, and that'll be the fodder for much discussion to come between now and the release. So, another topic I was thinking about today, actually, Cody, you brought this up. We have a new game coming out in just over a month with the Battlefront II. You mentioned you've tried the beta?
Yes, I was up very early on Wednesday morning for when it was available for install.
Oh, excellent. And how did you play it on a PC or did you play it on your console or
Xbox? Yeah, we're on Xbox One.
Oh, nice, excellent. So I haven't played it. Steve, you haven't played it as well?
No, I've been tied up with an event with the group all weekend, so I just have not had a chance to get to it yet.
Okay, so Cody, I guess you're the guy. What'd you think so far?
This is hilarious because one of the things that we complain about on the show are fans that are stuck in their ways of the original movies and refuse to give anything else a chance. And I feel like that's what I'm doing with Battlefront.
Oh, no.
I'm trying not to, but I find it harder and harder to not do that. I'm just tied up with two things. One is the original two Battlefront games for original Xbox and PS2, which, I mean, probably the best Star Wars games that there ever were besides KOTOR. And just crazy the amount of detail and like the thoroughness of the classes, the vehicles, the maps, and everything back then. So that's obviously fresh in my mind. And Mopar and I are big fans of Battlefield 4, which is a really detailed and in-depth war shooter, more strategic and things than Call of Duty. And it's made by the same developer that did Battlefront 2. So I'm trying not to go in with the baggage of like hoping to see my old favorite game revived and have some of the awesome stuff that I know in Battlefield 4. I'm just trying to go in as a Star Wars fan and love it. And the game is beautiful. The first one was beautiful as well. They've updated some cool things. There's classes. So instead of just one character and you pick a different weapon, you actually do have different classes with different abilities, which I thought that was a great addition. New maps, obviously prequel content was the big one, and sequel content. So now we have all the eras of Star Wars. It's rich and it's detailed in that way. I just found the matchmaking and the multiplayer to be frustrating, or most of the time not working at all, not working how people expected, which is I know it's a lot to ask for a multiplayer game, but I'm just trying to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I hope there's a lot of things that I hope they fix with the final release. I don't play betas very often, so I'm not exactly sure, what can I chalk up to it just being an early version of the release and what is actually going to be still in the game when it comes out. But like I said, it's fun. It's really cool to drop into the Star Wars universe.
So let me jump in because I think
sure.
I've got some help for you on that one about what to expect right now.
Okay.
So I spent 15 years in the gaming industry, so I can speak to this very directly.
Okay, good.
With them being a month away from launch, the disc is done. The client part of the game is done.
Oh.
It's gone gold. That's okay. No, don't drop your head that way. It's okay. So much of the game is run and managed and controlled online that's fine. That's
right.
fine. When they do a beta like this, especially a month from launch, they're testing the servers and they're testing the online code. So as long as the front end should work really smooth and the game mechanics should be pretty well locked in at this point. The matchmaking problems that you see, that's part of what they're trying to work out. They need to get these thousands and thousands of people stress testing the servers, and they're going to take all this feedback, and the server folks will work up until midnight on launch to get all that stuff tweaked so that launch day is an exceptional success.
Nice.
So I think what you're seeing is actually pretty typical for a beta release.
That's good to know. That puts me a little bit more at ease.
So there's hope.
Okay, good. There is another.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Yes. So we hear. Excellent. Yeah, because and Cody, you were saying you were on Xbox One?
Yes.
And Steve, are you a gamer? Do you have a system of your own? I'm assuming.
I do. I am. I always have been, and I'm a PlayStation guy, so.
Okay, excellent. Because what I was thinking is, hopefully, when the game rolls out, what I desperately want to do is get a Commonwealth trench run. If they had a Battle of Yavin trench run feature, when you do multiplayer, if we can just get a bunch of us hosts and all be trying to blow up the Death Star together, and the Red 5 and Red 2, and I could be Porkins. I don't care. I just want to. I'll take that. I just want to be a part of that. That'd be a lifelong dream. Ever since back in the day, I don't know if you remember that one. It was very basic graphics where you were a TIE fighter and you went on the surface of the Death Star, and I can't remember the name. It was just called Star Wars at the time.
It's just X-Wing versus TIE fighter, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. This was very basic. The graphics almost looked like the graphics they used in New Hope to show the Death Star, boop, 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 like it was that old.
Yeah.
So, and to have what they have now, and even in the last Battlefront with flying around, and you can go in cockpit mode, and the windshield's actually dirty. You know what I mean? It actually feels like you're very submersed. But if we can all get together and do a trench run, that'd be fantastic. I'm really, really looking forward to that.
To that point about starfighters and things, the starfighter mode was, I found, the best and the smoothest out of all of them. I wasn't a huge fan of it in the first one. I thought it maybe wasn't as smooth, and I've also just been not very good at flying games. But this one was pretty easy for me to grab onto and learn the controls. Having the hero ships in the mix, like when Boba Fett rolls up in front of you and drops a seismic charge, it's just like the coolest moment. Even though you're going to die, just to see that and to hear that sound where everything drops out, it's just so cool. So the hero element really added a lot to the game. I'm glad they did that.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I found the last Battlefront. I found the lightsaber dueling was a little harder for me. I don't know, for some reason it was just, I guess everybody's got their thing, right? Because I knew even when you're almost playing Call of Duty style where you're running around with a gun, that's pretty much, beat for beat for most games out there, with obvious big differences. But if you're a stormtrooper or a rebel, it doesn't matter. If you're running around with a gun in your hand, who hasn't played that style of game? Flying around, I've played a lot of those, but actual sword fighting, lightsaber dueling, I don't know. Steve, that's more of your outside expertise. I know not in the video gaming, but in the last Battlefront, do you like the gameplay?
I've talked to a couple people from the industry, and I kind of think this is a fair analysis in that there were a lot of issues and problems with the last Battlefront. The mechanics were a little janky. The starfighter battles were not as easily controlled as I'd like. The mechanics weren't quite there, and so there's been a couple of us that have kind of talked about the last Battlefront was essentially the beta for this one, if that makes sense. Yeah. They put a lot of effort into getting the engine down, and it sounds like from what Cody's talking about, they've really finessed that engine since then. And if the saber battles, the hero moments, and the starfighter stuff is so much easier this time around, I think it lends credence to that idea of the last one ended up being a test to make this one really outstanding.
And the amount of work that they put into getting the graphics and the models and things right from the last one by actually, going to Lucasfilm and getting all those old miniatures and actually, building their models in the game off of that stuff. I think all that work was already done, and they had obviously a lot more, free room to focus on the engine and the mechanics itself. And the gunplay for sure feels a lot smoother than the first one.
Now,
I'm so glad to hear that.
Cody, you read I listened to your podcast, and you were saying, are you finished, or are you currently reading the Battlefront novel?
Mopar finished it. I have not.
Okay, but you've started it, right?
I have started it. Yes.
Is it? Do you see any of that story in the beta, or is it just kind of like click on and play? You don't get any of the, the storyline.
Yeah, there's nothing for this for the single player in the beta except for the trailer the teaser with the messenger droid that has Palpatine's face on it, issuing orders and stuff. Just that trailer is in there for you to watch, but there's no actual gameplay from the campaign yet. Okay.
So we don't know what lines up with what there. So and the Battlefront novel, are you enjoying it, or is it?
I didn't get too far. I will say it just didn't grab me. There's so many novels, and I have a stack of books that aren't even Star Wars books that I'm still trying to read as well. So What I've been trying to tell myself is that if I don't get sucked in, like within the first few chapters, I'm just going to try to move on to the next one, because I don't ever want to feel like I'm struggling to get through a book.
No.
So.
No, and also
I finished that one. I'm sorry, Rob.
No, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, I finished Inferno Squad maybe about 2 weeks ago now. And you're right. The first few chapters, they're a little slow. It's all set up. It's all character building. Once you get past maybe chapter 7 or so, now the story picks up. Now you get engaged in the full plot. And I found it really picked up. It coalesced at that point. And I kept, every night was, just one more chapter. I've got time for one more. And
Nice.
It did come together. And I really like that different point of view of the Imperials are the good guys, as it were. Mm-hmm. And those rebel scum are just, they're chaotic terrorists and must be destroyed. And the perspective was fascinating, even though I still didn't believe it, because I'm more on the rebel side. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was a great perspective to get, and it did come together through you kind of got to take the time to go through the book, but it was a really good story at the end.
Yeah, that's good. I've been waiting for a book like this, or a story like this, and I think I'm really going to love, regardless of how intricate the multiplayer system gets with updates and things, I think we're all going to really love the campaign for the game. So correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I didn't finish the book, but the book is taking people from the first Death Star up to episode 6, and then the game's campaign is going from the destruction of Death Star 2 up to Force Awakens. Is that about right?
It starts right after Death Star 1, and maybe lasts for a year or two, so it doesn't even go to ESB.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't span that full length. It's just kind of a setup for the group of characters.
It is. So okay. I think, based upon the single player teaser we saw, it builds the background to help you really appreciate what's going to happen in the gameplay.
Nice. That's good.
Nice. Yeah. And Cody, I know what you're saying about some of the novels. Like I think with the novels, what I like the Star Wars is because the main characters, they're very effortless to read, because what Princess Leia looks like, what Han looks like. It's just, I know it's lazy imagination on my part, but I can just jump right in and go, okay, I know where we are. And I know what you're saying. When you get on different stories and they got a character build, yeah, it's great, but it's not quite what I'm looking for in a Star Wars novel, if that makes any sense. Because what I want to do when I pick up a Star Wars novel is go, okay, let's see what Luke's doing. You know what I mean? And if I got a character build, it's like, well, now I can read anything on the planet. It doesn't have to be Star Wars if I want to immerse myself in a brand new story. And the allure of Star Wars novels is, well, this is canon now, and this is going to be part of the, it's going to be part of the whole bigger picture. It's going to give you a broader understanding of the galaxy far, far away. But like you said, when it's hard to get through, they're like, oh man, some of them, boy, they drag. Yeah.
And that's when we sing praises to Stupendous Wave and Star Wars Explained on YouTube.
Yes.
Because he does, I know Star Wars Explained especially does a monthly canon update.
Okay.
So it's literally like between 5 and 8 minutes, and he just goes through everything that was added in that month, comics, children's books, novels, games, all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
And just concisely just drops all the new info. He ties in, little Easter eggs that will fit between Battlefront and The Force Awakens and things like that, and just he connects all the dots, and it makes it very easy to stay up to date.
Yeah, well, good. That's awesome to hear. Because I have standing orders. I do the TSW Comics podcast on the Talk Star Wars Network, along with this podcast. So I have standing orders from my comic book guy to pull everything Star Wars, regardless. Like I've got the Star Wars Adventures, even they're a younger reader's comic, just so I can kind of prepare myself for my podcast. Mm-hmm. And 90% of them I read out of sheer enjoyment, but you get your stinkers in there too. It's like there's a few of them where I'd be like, well, would I really be finishing this run if I wasn't a Star Wars comic podcaster? Yeah. The answer is no, I wouldn't. I would drop them, some of them, you know what I mean? But it like you're saying, if you got a spot where you can go and just get, here's a complete rundown, that's fantastic, because then it just saves you time, actually.
That, and I think I just need to bite the bullet and finally get Audible, because obviously we're all in the podcasting realm because we love it, and I listen to podcasts a lot more than I actually read books, so I think that might really help, is just finally getting Audible. And I know that's the only way Mopar got through the book, because he reads like a page a day if he actually has to read the book.
Oh no!
But he finally got Audible, and then Battlefront II he had to finish in like a week, so I think that's next on my list.
They're great. Audible, I just finished, what did I finish? Heir to the Jedi, the Luke Skywalker, after New Hope, in between New Hope and Empire, and it was Audible, but even I don't know who they got to read it, but it was pretty, he got that whiny Luke down. And it was like, geez, I don't know, I'm trying to use the Force, and he's trying to feed himself spaghetti with the Force, and hearing somebody read it, I'm just like banging my head on the wall going, oh my, what is going on?
Wait, I thought Kylo Ren was the whiny one.
No, it's apparently it's genetic.
It's a Skywalker trait. Anakin was pretty whiny.
I think so, yes.
He was. Excellent. Okay, well, you know what I'm going to do, guys? I'm going to take a quick stop here to get a quick message into this podcast, and we'll jump back with some more of the TSW Roundtable. And we're back. So I got a couple more things lined up here for you guys while I have you on the show. One of the questions I've been asking myself, and I've been asking a lot of other Star Wars podcasters / fans, is with everything we do, we have to take time out for our podcasts and any residual stuff we do for Star Wars on the side, and we kind of have to balance that out with our day jobs or family or whatever else we have going on. I just want to, I'm going to throw it to Cody first. Do you have to make a balance in your life for all this wonderful pod stuff? You've been doing this 4 years with your podcast. So how do you separate day job, wife, or family, podcast, and how do people around you put up with this whole thing?
Usually they don't have a choice. Just talking about Star Wars. I mean, I got Commander Cody on my arm. Just Star Wars all the time, pretty much. But now that Game of Thrones is not current, actually. So I am very fortunate that I get to do podcasting full time. I started the Rogue Squadron show about 4 years ago with Mopar, and using that kind of as like a guinea pig to learn the ins and outs of podcasting. And I already had an audio background. I started doing production and editing for some shows and built a client base, and now I'm able to do that full time. So luckily I get to treat my Star Wars show as like part of my actual workflow. So when I take an hour or two out of the day to dig into some Rogue Squadron stuff or watch the Last Jedi trailer and try to analyze it or plan local events or whatever it may be, I just kind of get to write that off as part of my work. So very fortunate in that respect. As far as balancing Star Wars with my wife, who does not love or have even seen all of the Star Wars movies, trying to convince her more and more. She's a big fan of Episode 7, though. I think a lot of it, and this is what I've noticed, even like trying to get my younger brother to go back and dig into Star Wars, or just trying to tell some people that have seen Rogue One to go back and get the backstory. I think it's just a date thing. I think just the fact that the movies are so old, unless you really love Star Wars or you saw them when you were younger, it's kind of hard to jump from 7, go back to 40 years to Episode 4 and get the same kind of feeling. So
yeah, it's kind of like asking somebody to watch Logan's Run now. I mean, I can watch it and go like, oh, I remember this, and then I could show it to my daughter who's 14 and be like, wait, what? Like, this is horrible. And I'm like, yes, of course it's horrible, but
yeah, the stuff that's out nowadays is just like leaps and bounds over everything.
Well, and to be fair, I can go back to my childhood and go back and watch movies that I just loved as a kid. And so many of them I look at now and I'm like, what the heck was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, I got the Blu-ray set of the original Planet of the Apes movies, and my wife and kids are looking at me going like, what are you doing? Like, what are you watching? And I don't know. And I'm like, I'm watching them and they're horrible, but I can't help it.
There are some things, like the nostalgia factor is huge. It can make you love things that aren't that good, but you saw them at the right time. I think that's definitely part of it. But there are things that just don't age well. I will say that Star Wars aged well, for sure. There's really no doubt about that. Obviously, some of the best movies ever made. But I've, for example, tried to go back and watch Power Rangers or something, like our 90s kid era, or like the old Transformers cartoons, or the Mortal Kombat movies from the mid-90s, which are all just god-awful. But how many times did I watch those back in the day?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I believe me, I'm the same way. I'm a little bit older than you are, but I watch like old He-Man cartoons. It's on Netflix now. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I start watching. This is horrible. What was I thinking? Yeah, it's kind of hard to convince somebody to watch a movie from 1977 and go, yeah, this is my awesome. How come you don't think it's awesome? And
of course.
That's also too, just to expand on that point. I know, Lucas, a lot of people get up in arms about the special editions and what's better and what's not, and I think the special editions are great. I have DVD copies of the originals, how they were projected, but if I'm showing them now, like my 14-year-old's seen them all, and I have another little girl that I'm eventually going to show them all to, they're going to go watch the movies with it'll be a lot smoother. Like going from New Hope, Empire, Jedi, and then if I want to bounce them back to Phantom Menace or whatever order I show it to them, it won't be as jarring as seeing that original theatrical release.
Right.
It won't have all the niche and all the corniness to it. Some of that's polished out, but at least for anybody jumping into the saga, like you said, your wife or somebody, if they're watching a special edition, it's gonna go along a lot better with the prequels and the new movies than the original releases. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, and one thing Lucas was really good about that I think most every Star Wars fan will agree on, so he was a great storyteller. And what he did with the special editions is expanded upon that. You might not like the visuals or some of the execution, but he expanded on the story. And exactly to your point, it made the overall collection more encompassing.
Yep. Yeah. So that's anyway, I know that's a little bit of a tangent, but that's
okay.
That's kind of my
I would add, the only thing I would add to that is, like, as far as changes or mistakes go, I just think there's goofy stuff in all the Star Wars movies.
Oh yeah.
If you really break it down and you want to start analyzing and picking things apart, like, you could take the same thorough destruction analysis on any of them if you really got in depth and if you really wanted to. So I just chalk it up to, I mean, there's just some silly stuff in all of them. That's part of Star Wars. Does it detract from the quality of the movie? No. Does it detract from the characters of the story? Absolutely not. Some of the best stories that we've ever seen. So,
well, hey, just find an old love letter you wrote to a girlfriend in high school and ask yourself, would you write it the same way today? Would you want to polish that up a little bit? Yeah, of course, if millions of people around the world were reading it. Okay, so Steve, back to my original question. You have the San Diego Sabers club and everything you do for Star Wars and your podcast. Like, how do you balance that with your day job and everything else you got going on in your life?
So I fall out of the normal bell curve because about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I started changing careers and I left my day job.
Okay.
And started my own business. And so now I'm working for myself. And part of that is it gives me a lot of time to do what I want to do. But even to your point, there are still other projects and other things that you have to balance. And I think when you're passionate about the things you do, you simply find a way to make it all work. Yes, you always are going to have to juggle 6 balls in the air at any given time. And even on our podcast, for example, since we're all local, we do our best to get together in person to do our podcast, which means we now have to juggle 3 people's schedules to find a time when we can all meet. And that's the hard part of the podcast is when can we do that? So you find everybody makes a little compromise here and there. This may not be the best day for me, but I can move some things around and we can meet tonight and do a couple episodes. And like I said, so if you love it, if you're passionate about it, you find a way. It's even like, how do you make time for your friends? Well, the people I podcast with and saber train with and everything else, well, these are my friends and we make time for each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's one thing I've noticed through this whole thing is like when it's something that you are super passionate about and that you love, it doesn't usually ever feel like work. So you don't really think twice about squeezing in a few extra hours a night to do a recording or to dive in. That's what some people don't think about podcasting sometimes is diving in to do the edits of the show. It sometimes can be extremely time consuming. And that's one reason why we switched to a live format. But yeah, I mean, all those details and all that extra work usually doesn't feel like work because you know what it's going towards.
And you don't even realize sometimes that you're putting that much time into it because it's so fun. I think the longest, to Cody's point, the longest edit session I ever had on a podcast was 7 hours. And I didn't intend on that to happen, but it just kind of did. We have the saying in the Saber group, but it's true, I think, to this stuff too, is the difference between something that's good and great are the details.
Yes.
And so I am very happy to put the time in to do some stuff to the podcast, to do the edits, to take out the flubs, to add, a little comedy, some sound effects, to adjust the levels, to get everything just right. I will like it more, and everybody else will like it more as well.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I think, not to get off topic, but to go on the podcasting, when I turn on a podcast, if it sounds like it's 18 people gathered around a tiny little mic sitting on a table and it's just mayhem, if it sounds like it's recorded off of, a Nokia phone, it turns you off like immediately. Because especially in podcasting, if it doesn't sound decent and professional, and you can tell when someone's taking care, putting out their product, because there's so many. Even just in the Star Wars world, they can go on iTunes, and there's a million of them out there. So you can't if they're not going to listen to your show, they got no problem grabbing the next one. So
you've hit on one of my hot buttons right there, which is audio quality, and my simple way of expressing it is, if you've made your podcast hard to listen to, if it's an effort for me to understand what you're saying, I'm out. And I've seen too many shows where it's even just 2 people and one guy is really quiet and the other guy is really loud. Yeah. And if I'm driving down the road and I'm constantly having to change the volume between hosts on the show, forget it. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one thing that I could go back and forth on all day, because that's where audio is where I came from and how I got into podcasting in the first place. So, and if anyone's listening and like wants to start a show or has one and wants to upgrade it, what I would suggest is just to reach out and connect with some other podcasters and just start asking people what's their setup? How do they get from point A to point B? What do they use for recording? How do they make improvements on their show? It's a lot of stuff that you can do that costs almost no money that you just need a little bit of advice on.
Yep. And still on this podcasting topic, if you have a show, just make it regular. Again, like if someone's expecting your show to be out Thursday morning and it's not there, they're going to jump on something else, and there's a chance they might like the something else a little better than yours and not come back. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just podcasting is one of those fickle things. You have to work so hard to make so nothing. So it is a labor of love. Back to the original, my original question, balancing fandom and life and podcasting. I know I'm in the middle of an astromech build, so I'm building an R2-D2 in my garage, and I have a little baby in the house, and I'm married, and I take care of a 90-year-old grandmother and stuff like that, and I have a day job that's not building droids, which would be cool.
Not yet, anyways.
No, not yet.
That's a shame.
I have a weekly podcast that's not Star Wars. I do this one, and I do another one, TSW Comics with Mark, once a month. And for me, the biggest thing about balancing my fandom and the podcasting and all the extra stuff is, my wife. Like, she is so unbelievably, like, just supportive in anything I do, and it's fantastic. So but also too, if I have 2 minutes, I'm not running out to the garage to fix the holo projector on the back of R2's dome. You know what I mean? Like, you have to find that balance of you have your family time. You're this, like, hey, if everybody's gone to bed and I want to poke around the garage, I look at my astromech build like my hot rod. That's my motorbike or my Corvette sitting in the garage with the hood up.
Right.
And I go in there and I tinker and I get my hands dirty. And then if that gets done, when it gets done, it gets done. That's my own thing. The podcasting, I try to keep a decent schedule. You know what I mean? Like, we're doing this, and right now it's Canadian Thanksgiving, and my wife's out with the baby and doing stuff. So I'm like, hey, I got a few hours. I'm going to try to schedule my monthly roundtable show. And it's, my wife is great. She comes to see all the movies with me. She likes them. She obviously does not love them like I do. You know what I mean? Like, like, especially when you're getting to all the little niche stuff. Like, we have, even just in the Commonwealth, like, Steve, we have you guys with the San Diego Sabers. So you have your lightsaber club, and I'm an astromech builder. I know Rob Williams is trying to join the 501st, and he's doing a whole, the Outer Rim Rookie, he's doing a whole kind of spin-off podcast on his journey to being in the 501st. So we have we have the comic book show on the TSW. We have the I know Skyhoppers, they do a monthly book club. I know a few of our Nerd Room and Skyhoppers, and a bunch of us recap the Rebels episodes. So we cover everything, because I don't think one person possibly could. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't do everything. So I think if you're in the fandom and you have something you like Steve, you mean with your club, and I know I liked what Rob Williams was doing with the 501st, but I'm like, I think cosplay is fantastic. It makes all the conventions 1,000% better and more fun, but I can't. It's just not for me. So that's how I fell into the astromech build. You know what I mean? So, like, I know, Cody, you're at Celebration. Steve, you're at Celebration this year too, weren't you?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, so all three of us were there. Like, what would Celebration be without these cosplayers?
That was probably my favorite moment, regardless of the sessions or the vendors, was seeing everybody in costume. Niche characters from the background of the cantina that you never thought somebody would make a costume for that you would see.
Yep.
And for us being huge KOTOR fans, I saw a duo of guys, Malik and Revan, and it was spot on, like the best cosplay I've ever seen. That just made the entire trip, was just seeing them in person.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But like I said, and for those people, I'm sure they're fans, and everybody out there, if any advice, if you're getting into anything Star Wars, you're really gonna dig into your fandom, don't bite off more than you can chew. You mean, if podcasting is your thing, or you want to go 501st or the Saber Club or anything like an astromech build, like, there's lots of people out here. You can ask any one of anybody in the Commonwealth here, and we'll direct you to the correct person. It's like I said, my original point, it's the balance between fandom and everyday life, because I mean, obviously, everyday life has got to take precedence, but it is a lot.
It does. And I think, here's my secret to doing it. And some of this is I'm a planaholic, but I put everything on my calendar. When we have practice sessions for the Saber group, they're on my calendar. If we're having a council meeting, it's on my calendar. Friday afternoons, I put it on my calendar going, edit episode 39. Here's the afternoon, we're going to go record. Everything goes on the calendar. And that for me, that's my secret to balancing it all out, in addition to the other things I'm doing, like I'm putting together a Comic-Con convention here for San Diego. And so there's a lot of logistics I got to put into that. So today I'm sitting here recording with you guys, and then I've got to meet with a marketing consultant this afternoon, and I've got a guy in town on Wednesday. So just everything goes on the calendar, and that forces me to plan it out and maybe achieve that balance.
Yeah, no, I hear you, because I'm the same way. I have a billion different reminders on my phone. I know we had this in our calendar. Also, too, I referee Canadian football. It's the same thing as American, but we only have 3 downs, and our balls are bigger. They're just a little more fatter. It's true. What can I say? Yeah, but like I said, if I get on my cell phone, I got the calendar and I got reminders. It's going off constantly with going, hey, you got this tonight, you got this going on. And you're right, Steve, planning's not a bad thing, especially when you got a lot of balls in the air. Pardon the pun.
It's kind of it's one of those things of the simple things sometimes are just the secret to making it work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even to Cody's point earlier, even for, you want to get into podcasting, it's actually really simple these days, and you can start off by spending $0.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
yeah,
simple... Cody, what would you suggest if somebody's looking to start?
Start it.
Yeah.
Just start it. I see more than anything in podcasting circles that I'm in on Facebook, different groups, different people that I've talked to and given advice to and done consultations for. People spend years in the planning stage without biting the bullet and starting the show. And my biggest piece of advice is to start it and adjust along the way. Start the show. If you don't know what your format is, if you're not sure who you're going to talk to, it's important to just start recording, start getting something out there. And then as you get feedback and as you listen back and realize all the spots where you messed up, you said 35 times, you can adjust as you go.
You've heard my podcast. I hear you.
Thousands of podcasts. But yeah, it's just people can get really paralyzed by the planning stage and never actually hit the go button.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what, guys? We got a special guest dropping in. The man from Talk Star Wars, Mark. You want to say hi to Cody and Steve?
How are you doing?
Hey, Mark.
What up?
How are you? How is everybody? I haven't spoken to Cody and Steve on here before. That's exciting.
Yeah, not since we saw each other in April.
Yeah, very, very briefly at the con.
Yes, Mark and I, we had to make sure we had some craft beers with you guys, because it was like Cody and Mopar, and we're like, yeah, I think that was one of the we were trying. It was amazing too when we were down there, how much running around we had. We didn't meet up till the second last night or something.
Yeah. I did not think that was going to happen, but it's a lot harder to meet up with people at cons than you might think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's crazy, wasn't it? Crazy couple of days, that.
I've offered that for everybody who comes down to San Diego Comic-Con next year, I will throw a party for us.
I may have to do that.
Just put that on your calendar.
Yeah, it would be a good time. So we were just actually going to wrap up here, Mark, but we were going to ask everybody what are their plans for the Last Jedi? Speaking of parties, you guys, I'll throw it to Steve first. Do you have do you go with a bunch of people? Do you just go by yourself for the first few viewings? Do you go? How do you approach a new Star Wars movie?
I've approached every one of them differently.
Right.
So I don't yet have solid plans for what I'm going to do for The Last Jedi. What I anticipate doing is buying a bunch of tickets and figuring it out later. Because that's the hard part is getting seats. And I certainly have enough friends through the Saber group or socially that if I buy 10 tickets, I will fill them up. And it's just making a thing out of it, because whether it's celebration or a movie release, it is really about that sharing that experience with other people who are passionate about that thing. So whoever we bring in to come see it on opening day, opening night, it's just going to be exciting and fun. And we're all just going to be on the edge of our seats going, oh my God, look at how he's caressing that book.
Awesome. Cody, do you and Mopar get together, or do you guys, what's your plan for the new movie?
Yeah, so we're actually planning something a little extravagant. Since Force Friday in 2015, not Force Friday, May the 4th, sorry. Since May the 4th be with you, in 2016, we've been hosting Star Wars parties for May the 4th and also for the new movies at one of our local cinemas, Gateway Film Center. So we're actually planning a big party for opening night of The Last Jedi. We're going to have custom beers on tap. The 501st will be there. We'll have some artists, Battlefront II on some TV screens. Just trying to, give a lot of cool Star Wars things for the community to engage in before we go in and see the best movie that's ever been made.
Now, does the cinema give you a chance to sneak peek the movie so you don't miss it?
So last year we planned everything so that the party would lead up to the initial 7 p.m. screening. Okay. So we all went in and saw the very first showing. This year it's actually going to be on Friday. So we'll have a group of guys that we're going to go and see it Thursday at 6 p.m. I think they announced it's going to be out earlier this year than usual. So we'll be definitely out there on opening night, and then the big party will be on Friday.
Well, that's what I was thinking, because once I get my R2 built, I was thinking, can I get it running before Last Jedi? And even any movie, it'd be like, it'd be great to take it to, like you said, take it to the actual theater and have it roll around the lobby. But I'm like, well, wait a second, I don't want to miss the movie, because I have to see it first runs. So I don't want to be tied up doing meet and greets or doing stuff, with the R2 and not. Right. And not be able to miss out on my movie. That's the whole point.
Of course.
Mark, what do you got something planned this year?
Yes. Well, I'm probably going to see it a little early, like I did last time.
Right.
Which I'm sure will make a lot of my co-hosts very, very happy, because obviously I don't invite them. So yeah, I'll get to see it a little bit ahead of time, I think, and then hopefully we can get some sort of meetup. There's a lot of talk about within the VIP group of doing a meetup and going to see it together at some point.
Yeah,
probably just after Christmas.
Well, that's what I know. I know up here in Canada. Up here, we're spread all over the country. So people think that, why don't you just go see it with Rob Williams? I'm like, well, he's in Vancouver or BC. I'm not even close. I'd be probably faster for me to fly to the UK than it would.
You're closer to us. Yeah, we could meet somewhere. Yeah, for sure. But I know the Tumbling Saber guys. They were talking about doing something and having a meetup. So I don't. The night of the premiere, I'm not. It'd be great to meet up on a weekend after or something. But it just, God, you'd hate to have your travel problems and be stuck in traffic or at an airport when your beloved movie's being shown to everybody else on the planet. Can't imagine it.
Yeah. Awesome. So, you know what? We're at that time, so we're gonna wrap up this episode of the Roundtable. But what I like to do is just go around the table and everybody can say where they're from and what they got coming out, and we'll go from there. But Mark, it's so awesome you just dropped in.
Yeah, sorry guys, I didn't mean to gate crash. I just wanted to pop on and say hello because I knew there were some people I hadn't had a chance to podcast with yet. So I'm crossing names off a list.
Yes, well,
I'm going to say this counts. This counts for me.
This is the Commonwealth Pokemon we're playing.
Yeah,
fortunately, because of this show, I think I got everybody cooked because I've potted with everybody. I'm just potting promiscuously that way. I don't know. Awesome. So I'll throw it over to Steve first. You want to tell everybody about where they can find your show and what you do Star Wars wise?
Yeah, absolutely. San Diego Sabers. We are actually a lightsaber. We started as a lightsaber combat group, and now we do a podcast as well. And you can find us online at sandiegosabers.net for the group as well as the podcast, and on Facebook at San Diego Sabers, and Twitter we're San Diego Sabers Podcast. And don't confuse us with the hockey team called San Diego Sabers.
I wouldn't. I'm Canadian. I know better.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Cody, can you tell us where they can find all your good stuff?
Yeah, this is Commander Cody from Rogue Squadron Podcast. We are all over iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Patreon. Everything is Rogue Squad Pod, our username. Same on all platforms. And if you are local in Ohio, in Central Ohio, be ready for The Last Jedi. It comes out in December. We have the event going on, VIP tickets, and some awesome stuff happening. All is on the Facebook event page.
Awesome. And can you were mentioning earlier in the show, you do help people with putting out podcasts for and audio stuff with your day gig. Do you have you have a website people can come visit you if they're interested in?
I do, yes. Podcastmasters.net. There's a link on there to schedule a consultation call. You can reach out, chat, ask any questions you might have. Be happy to offer any advice that I can.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, because I know there's people listening to this going, well, I can do way better than that Rob guy. If he's doing it. Awesome. And Mark, this is going out on the Talk Star Wars feed, so they know this is where they
find
can,
me.
Yeah, this is where you can find Mark. Just keep listening to this exact same bat channel, same bat station, or whatever they.
Same bat time.
Awesome. So again, for another episode of the TSW Roundtable, thank you very much, Cody and Steve and Mark, for popping in on us, and we'll see you next month with another brand new episode. Bye.